Hi, beautiful people. 17 music themes you should know. Oftentimes, music themes are misused and misinterpreted, which leads to confusion, especially for beginners. In this tutorial, you will learn the correct meaning and function for 17 most misused music themes. Number 1, intervals. It's basically just the distance between two notes. That can be an interval, that can be an interval. The distance we use in music to measure pitches, for example, C to A, C to A, C to G, and so on. And there are different types of intervals. We have the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. We generally stop at 13th and we don't go 14th. Instead of calling it a 14th, we call it a compound 7, compound octave, compound ninth, and so on. Then you go a little bit further and talk about the augmented fourth, augmented fifth, or minor sixth, and so on. Number 2, inversions. Typically, when you can invert an interval, you can invert a chord. For example, if I take a third and invert it by putting the root note to the top here, the third, I invert it, it becomes a minor sixth. Minor second, major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, augmented fourth, perfect fifth, minor sixth. It becomes a minor sixth. I can also take the E and put it onto the top. The E, put it onto the top again. I'm back to my third. Quick trick: whenever you take an interval and then plus the interval inversion, add it together, it should give you a 9. For example, if I take a third and invert it plus its inversion, the third plus its inversion gives me 9, which is 5 plus 4 gives me 9. Basically, when you take an interval smaller than 9 and you invert it and add them together, you should get 9. Number 3, chord inversions. If I take the root note from the major chord, and put it to the top, that's first inversion. If I then take the root note and put it to the top, that's second inversion. If I then take the root note again and put it to the top, I end up in root position. Number 4, chord. A chord has to be a minimum of 3 notes and above. If it's just 2 notes, it's just harmony and not a chord. 5, quality. When we say an interval quality or chord quality, what are we referring to? We are talking about whether the chord is a major, minor, diminished, or augmented. Let's say if I play this interval C to G and I ask what's the interval quality of this interval, it's a perfect fifth. C to C, octave, and so on. Number 6, scale. Scale is basically a sequence of notes played one after the other. That's a scale. 7, unison. Multiple persons singing the same pitch or multiple instruments playing the same note. I can have the keyboard playing this or piano playing this note, the bass guitar, the lead guitar, the saxophone. When all these instruments play this one note, it's called a unison. 8, harmony. 2 or more different notes. 9, chromatic. Chromatic, these are all just half steps. In Western music, that's the smallest distance we move from a piano. Chromatic. That's chromatic. That's the chromatic scale. 10, whole step or step tone. It's basically 2 half steps. That's a whole step. 11, progressions. series of chord changes, for example, 1, 4, 5. That's a progression. 12 chord extensions, chords that exceed a seventh. For example, the C add 9. That's a chord extension. 13, we have a turnaround, common in jazz and used a lot in blues. That's turnaround. Alright, 14, modulation and transposition. Modulation is when you are in one key and you decide to go one key, a half step or a whole step. Transposition is when we take one song into a whole new key. For example, I play Amazing Grace. That's called modulation. I just moved one key a half step to the other key, going up. Transposition is, let's say you have the song in Amazing Grace, it's in the key of G, and now let's say the singer says, no, I want to sing it in D, it's too high for me. Then you have changed the key. That's transposing. That's called transposition. 15, transcription. To transcribe is to write what you hear. Listen to something and then you write it out. For example, you listen to a song and then you write down the chords or chord progression. That's transcription. 16, second last one. Syncopation. When we have a steady form of a beat and then you shifted the beat on a different measure. 17, cadences. Basically, cadences mean closure, coming to an end. There are three main cadences. We have the perfect cadence when you move from a 5 to a 1. Let's use again the song Amazing Grace. A 5 going to a 1. Our second cadence, the plagial cadence, where you move from a 4 to a 1. A 4. Sometimes it's called the Amen cadence. Amen. Last one, deceptive cadence. You can go all sorts of places, going to the 4 and somewhere else. Oftentimes, they say the deceptive cadence is going to a 6. The 6. See, it's a bit confusing. All right, thank you so much. We come to the end of our lesson and see you in the next one.